Well, hello, my fellow car milers. How you doing today? I've got another retrospective of a Scale Auto Enthusiast from way back. We're talking January, February of 1986. This is issue 41. Get your cold coffee. Let's take a look at it. Alrighty, my friends. This was a magazine that I picked up many years ago. I don't even remember where. Could have been a swap meet. But I bought it after I had already started buying my Scale Auto. So this was like before, a couple issues before the very first one I ever got. But I remember why I got this one was because of this model right here. I had to check that out. And there's a lot of really great articles in this magazine. This thing, of course, was just chock full of great stuff. And John McGowan, this was a, I saw this and it really was an inspiration back then. Something I always wanted to build, haven't yet. And I actually have kind of a mock-up always sitting off to the side with its, well, isn't that where you put the wheel when it breaks off? Yeah, this is a something I plan on doing one of these days. I tell you, that was pretty inspirational right there of what he did. I just thought it was very cool looking and very realistic, you know. So let's take a look. And to start off, and of course, there was a very cool article. I always would grab anything that had anything to do with any article on NASCAR. And this was a really cool article on how to make decals, which from back in the day, wasn't like making decals today. Oh, this is a great ad. You got to look at this ad. Look at that. It doesn't say if it's for the 24 scale or the large scale one. But what a cool ad. You know, I got to be honest. The early 80s C4 Corvettes I really love. I actually really would love to own a real one. Always have. I don't think I could fit my big you-know-what into it. But they are. I love those cars. I love that wheel and tire combo. Going on into it, another editor's write-up from the late great Gary Schmidt. This is of course still from the Gary Schmidt era, which is really the era that I'm going to cover. I'm never going to go into the Kalmback ones. Just not interested. Don't know what to say. Glad they kept it going for a while, but you know, these were the great days. And then we have, you know, Scale Mail. No message boards, no Facebook groups, no talking to anybody or asking anybody questions. You had to send in a letter, and hopefully in about 6 months you got an answer. And a couple lucky people did. Model Empire, I believe they're still around. I think we've talked about that before. But, oh, those Otaki wheels and tire sets. I've brought those up before. And we got more Scale Mail over on this side. Auto World ad. Items of interest. There's always items of interest. Companies I haven't even heard of anymore. What is this? This is a Illini Replica Conversions. This Scale Auto Replicas. Hey, always had a Fred Katie decal ad. There was always one of those around. And just more great writings from all these different writers on all kinds of model car subjects. And an ad for the 7th annual Greater Salt Lake Model Car Championship. 1986, May of 1986. The last one's coming up next year, which is big number. And I tell you, if you do get an opportunity, you got to go check it out, because this was the show. It was just the show. That's all I got to say. And it's going to be the end of an era next year. It is going to be the end of an era. It's going to be a great show to be. Everybody's going to be there. I guess this Plastic Surgeon, there it is, article that started over on the other page there, is a review oh, look at this. This is interesting. So here's a review of the Richard Petty NASCAR Grand Prix. This came out from Monogram back in '86. It was of his 84 200th win. And let's just look at this. Wow, I am not a NASCAR freak per se, but wow. Once again, Monogram steals the show. A new body, not a revised Monte Carlo or Regal, but a genuine, accurate Pontiac Grand Prix. Molded so smooth and shiny, it looks as though it was painted with urethane. That's what that article says. The reason why I'm reading it is, oddly enough, next month, Salvino's JR is repopping this very kit. They're doing the Petty 200th win, and I'm really excited about it because I always wanted to build this model. But you know, the decals were Well, of course, in Salvino's fashion, we're getting the great power slide decals that are going to come along with that kit, and that's just going to make it that much better. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that kit, even though I've got quite a few of these. I even have one right up here that I had Richard sign in 1989. That one will never get opened, but that's pretty cool, reading that and the fact that a whole new company that's been doing great things, that has these molds from Monogram, are re-releasing that very kit. I'm pretty excited about it. I'll be showing it on this channel when I get it. Wow, there were a lot of kits coming out. Look at this. We're going on to, you know, the 5th page of talking about kits coming out that month. 7-Eleven Thunderbird. Oh, man. And then we go into the question and answers. Again, you could send in a question about modeling and you'd get an answer. Hey, anybody want to subscribe? Think it'll work? Don't think so. Wow, what a dad joke.
You're watching the Lucas C channel on YouTube.
I always rave about them. There it is, when they were the top of the heap. MSC Model Products, with their outstanding braided line, which was great back then. They were an awesome company, but just always remember, protect. Charlie took over from this great company when they went away, and he's topped it. You got to watch this video right here about his braided line. I never thought anybody ever topped MSC products with their braided line until Charlie came out with his, and wow, can't top that now. But they were the ones who started it. And this was the great Don Farney. He was just a fantastic modeler, and they always put his models in the ads. He was the big dog back then in detailing race cars and was always in the magazine. So, hey, he sold the product. Collector Showcase, which was all the 43rd scale stuff. 43rd scale was really, really popular. I've done a couple videos about that. And it was really popular in the 80s. HO, there was all kinds of ads in here for great companies, but here we go. Model car contest reviews and coverage. Back when they would put it in the magazine. And it was a big deal if you won the show you were at, or if you put on a show and you got in Scale Auto, you were doing something right. And if you made it in the Scale Auto with your model and those show coverages, you were doing something right. Wow, look at that. Jeff Cadwell. There's Don Holthouse. Don Holthouse. I wonder if that's the Don Holthouse from Model House Resins. Remember that company? There'll probably be an ad in here. And this was the great little tricks for trick paint. That's what this was about. And they go over doing. Actually, Fred Cady did make the decals. I'm incorrect. This article wasn't about making the decals, although they had that. Fred Cady had decals for this car. And this was one of those early cars. And this, who was it that did this? It would be Tim Bongard. And actually, I would love to do this car because it was one of them early faded NASCAR paint jobs. This Junie Donlevy Thunderbird. What a great article. And the thing about it, what he really showed in this was The Fred Cady decals, the 90s, were just yellow. The actual car, it had a fade, if you can see in this picture. That's what this covered, was not only doing the faded paint job of how to do that, but how to go ahead and fade your decals. And I actually kind of did something like that. This inspired me. I had to make some decals that had kind of a fade in them for a commission build right there. And yeah, that's where I got my information, doing all my little tricks and stuff. Boy, that was a cool model. I'll tell you what, I just always wonder if this guy, Tim Bogard, is still around. You know, you watch YouTube, you're watching this, put something down in the, or you know him, put something down in the comments, man. I would love to see this model if it still exists today, because that thing was ahead of its time. And here we go. Here's John McGowan's great Pro Street or Pro Stock Mustang. What a model. Just impressive. This was stuff, I mean, he would always win at Salt Lake, which I believe this was a Salt Lake winning car. Hey, Doug White, if you're watching, let me know in the comment below. Is this car in the museum? I would just really lose it if I get to see this car in real life person when I go up to Salt Lake and go to that museum, because this was just groundbreaking. Look at all the little detail that he put in. John McGowan was like that. This guy, he was just one of those pioneers in the hobby. You just didn't see. This is almost kind of like normal now, I guess. Still fantastic with so many builders build like this now. But back then, not a lot of people built like this. You know, Don Farney, him, there's so many great guys. And just look at that. Remember, this is 1986 he built that. Total kit bashing. He used the Ricky Smith Thunderbird. I did a video about that Thunderbird kit right there. He used that Pro Stock Thunderbird kit and chassis, everything there, and basically put this Mustang, it would have been the Boss Mustang, the 70 Boss Mustang from Monogram, just like the one I showed you earlier that I got sitting over on the side. Looks like it worked out really well. A little index here for all your past Scale Autos looking for something. The Legend Returns. Oh, this is an article. This was about the time that Monogram released their all-new tooling of the 64 GTO, which was popular. And before that, there was an old AMT kit. And it was, at this time, even rare and hard to get. So, that GTO, that's for another video, but it's an important kit in my life, in my early model building. And yeah, even today, if you ever get a chance, if you haven't ever gotten the Monogram, now Revell, they were putting it out up until just a few years ago. There's been so many different additions to this model. It really is, even today's standard, a very, very good kit. And this was just a neat comparison between the two kits. What great articles they did. And just, see, there it was. That was its first version. I still got a couple with that box art. It is really a fantastic kit. Built it many times. And for the truckers, big rig modelers, we got tons of stuff going on. Great how-tos. Magazine is just chock full of great stuff. And this is turning into a long video because there's just so much stuff. Look, every page, another article. And I gotta say, I gotta give a shout out to Model Cars magazine. Their recent issues have really stepped it up to like reminding me of these old days. Because, you know, whatever, I'm not doing any bashing, but I gotta say, when Kalmback took this magazine over, it just dumbed it down. It was streamlined and simplified and just wasn't filled with what you had back then. And it's like Model Cars magazine is bringing it back. So I tell you what, I would highly recommend checking that magazine out if you have it. If you miss out and go, man, how cool would it be to have this magazine? Yeah, well, you know, as far as I'm concerned, really, Scale Auto kind of died in the early 90s, man. Pick up the Model Cars magazine. You're going to get this feel. Look at another from Melbourne. Well, actually, it's pronounced Melbourne in Australia. I've gotten corrected before, but my Aussie friends, in the comments below, tell me how right I am. It's Melbourne, Australia. We had this great Australian contest they coverage, and they also did one in Stockholm, Sweden. You know, it was letting us Americans who thought we were the only ones doing this, that this stuff was going on all around the world. All kinds of guys in Europe showing how they love building the American hot rods like we do over here. This was the only way we were able to find out, and we were all, wow, that's pretty cool. Touch Class by Wayne Moyer. Just showing you how to put together this, laying the decals, doing the wood. It's just going on. Look at this. Railroad model kits. You know, little 3/16 scale, S scale. Nutty. They just, and model truck lines. Just tons of, you know, it was all about the hobby of scale autos. Scale automobiles. So it wasn't just your 25th, 24 scale AMT monogram Revell. It was about everything. They covered it all. And then look at the coming events. There were tons of model shows back in those days too. Great model shows. And of course we get into the back where we got a lot of really cool advertising. Great mail order companies. Model King, still around today. And then we got the ad section for, you know, if you wanted to sell something, buy something, looking for something, you threw it in here, and a couple months later it finally came out, and a couple months later you'd get someone replying to you by mail. Nobody had computers. And that's pretty much it. Look at, oh, those Fujimi Porsche kits. Yeah, nice ad. Got a couple of those. And on the back, of course, there'd be a nice big ad. MRC Poacher. There's been some talk about those Poacher kits. So expensive, it's so realistic and so detailed. But anyways, that's it. That's our little retrospective of a really cool Scale Auto magazine. Some really great stuff going on back in 1986. A lot of fun. I'm glad you guys like this little series that I do every once in a while. I'm happy to do some more of them. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And you know what we say here. This is me, Lucas C. Keep gluing those fingers together and keep cutting that styrene. And we will see you, right guy, you over there too. We'll see you in the next video, right? Okay, here's the producer. Well, hello, my fellow car modelers. How you doing today? I've got another retrospective.